I want to bring in former federal prosecutor Shan Wu, an author and CNN contributor Garrett Graff to talk about this now. Because, Shan, you point out a direct conflict between the branches of government, with the president refusing to give Congress this information about the whistleblower. What are Congress's options here?
Well, Congress has to probably go to the courts. There is one sort of alternative path within the statute where the whistleblower could directly ask to deliver their complaint to Congress. But the way that's set up is they have to get some guidance from the agency, which obviously is not forthcoming because McGuire doesn't want him to testify. So this kind of illustrates a problem where no law is capable of reading into the facts ahead of time, someone's refusal to actually abide by it or to enforce it in this case. And that's where the problem is. The executive is claiming confidentiality in terms of classified issues. They're also going to be claiming executive privilege. So it sets up a direct conflict between the executive refusing to let the legislature do its job.
You know, Garrett, there might be some people looking at this thinking, gosh, we just got out of this whole scenario with the Mueller report. Now we have this again. Are there people, do you get the sense there are people looking at this going, I think I have confidence in the 2020 election?
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that seems very clear as we begin to line up the timelines on this is that this controversy almost began the moment that the Mueller testimony wrapped up, that Mueller testified on July 24th, the first of the telephone calls that may be part of this complaint started on July 25th. And so it's almost as if Donald Trump precisely understood the roadmap and what he could do that sort of fell within the lines of what Mueller had already decided was not a crime, and wanted to sort of charge ahead. You know, Shan and I were just saying this is almost like a bank robber going out, being acquitted of one bank robbery, and then immediately going out and robbing another bank because now he knows exactly how to do so.
Yeah, Shan, I mean, there was no real consequence for him. There were no charges in the Mueller report that came out of that. But the president has a lot, he does have, many analysts say, he has a lot of latitude in conversations that he has with foreign governments. Is anything you see to this point, is it criminal? Does it fall under abuse of power? Is there anything beyond that that could be here?
Well, in terms of the potential criminal charges, and obviously we don't know that much about the facts yet, but there's sort of like a buffet of potential charges. There's theft of honest services, there's bribery, there's all sorts of things, campaign finance violations, and abuse of power is written all over this, of course. And I think the DOJ and the White House are obviously trying to suppress this. They're going to try to make it very murky and muddy. I think we should just remember two things. First, the statute, the law, is not discretionary. It says shall deliver the report to Congress, and they're not doing that. And second of all, whatever the president may say about his conversation, he, from the reports, is asking that his private personal attorney be involved in this. Giuliani, his private personal attorney, has no formal government role, so it's obviously of a personal nature for him.
So I want to ask you, Garrett, when we look ahead to 2020, what is the potency of President Trump's assertions against or allegations against Ukraine and Vice President Biden? I'm wondering what the risk versus the reward is here for him with his base as we head into 2020.
Well, the risk versus reward for his base is simply to continue to muddy Democratic opponents sort of regardless of whether the facts support this. And I think the challenge for the country going forward, and Shan was sort of touching on this a little bit in his answer just now, is that most of our systems, most of our laws are not written to deal with a national security threat if the national security threat is the President of the United States. And that we sort of see these systems and processes sort of struggling to respond to a president who is willing to prioritize his own politics, his own election, sort of above the national interests of the country, and that he sees those as completely inseparable. And that becomes a really big challenge, particularly on the foreign policy realm, where the President of the United States receives an enormous amount of discretion from the courts and from the legislative branch in terms of national security decisions.
All right. Shan Wu, Garrett Graff, so grateful to have your perspectives with us today. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good to see you.